I'm about to start the assignment, blog assignment for Aboriginal, Aboriginal study, study unit, which is called Darug Country, Presences, Places, and People. But before I start, I would like to take this video to record my memory from talking to Nivied-san. Today, I asked him if we can talk about economy. I just sent an Instagram direct message saying, can we talk about economy? And he said, sure, no problem. And he let me in to his room, and we just talked about, we were going to talk about economy, but by the way, this is the new phone, and this cover cost me $6, and the film of this phone is from Daiso in Australia, so it's 3.3 I think dollars, in total 9.3 bucks to protect my phone. I think for now it's enough. Anyways, so when I went to his room, he talked about, I was gonna talk about economy first, but since I also had a question about how to read books, why am I having the headphone? I don't know, it's because I was about to watch the documentary of the Darug country, or the Aboriginal people, and I'm having this, and I can hear my voice, I can hear only my voice by reflecting my voice inside my ears without hearing other people talking. So this headphones are working in a good way. So when I talked to him about the book, how to read books, I asked him because he said he reads, last year he read 17 books, which are basically novels, 17 books in a year. And this year he already read 9 books. So he's pretty good reader. And I asked him what is the important thing. And I asked him, how do you read so efficiently? I want to be able to read something efficiently. Otherwise, I'm putting too much energy to read, and then I get tired very soon, as soon as I reading it, even though I understand the contents. So I asked him, how can I read books so efficiently? And so first I had him read my not Bible, but the book I've been carrying around, that is Biopolitics. And of course he cannot understand the paragraph I had him to read, but he said and so he asked me what is the objective of the book, and then I introduced him to two questions that are discussed in that book. And then after that he made a connection between what the part he read and the questions I said. There are 2 main questions. So he said, when you want to read something efficiently, you should try to have you should always keep in mind the objectives of whatever you're reading. And that's why I'm taking this video to clarify the objective of what I am about to do. So what I am about to do is to do this assignment. But this assignment is about Aborigine. Let's see. So I got an email from the teacher about this week's task. And I think there are 2 objectives generally. One is the objective that is told by the professor, the convener who teaches us. Another objective is the one I set up by myself for my research. So the first objective given by the lecturer is that okay, so I've got to think about settler colonialism that formed Australian nation state. And those who harm the indigenous people. Okay, but Aboriginal Darug people are still alive, of course. They have been surviving this since the colonization of the Australian continent. So they're surviving. So I think the objective is to think about the strength, tenacity, the resistance, kind of tenacity and strength. Yeah, so that is the objective. Think about the tenacity and strength of Darug communities, Darug people who have been surviving since the colonization, and then relate the topic to what you care about people around me in the country I belong to. At least I understood the gist. I understood the gist of the question objectives. So second objective, which is for my own research, is that okay, I'm thinking I was gonna talk about this topic, but I didn't have an idea before start taking this video. So, what is that gonna be? So I should probably go back to my original intention to take this Aboriginal study unit. So that is, I think, indigenous people are interesting because when colonizers think that they are developing, they are helping the development of indigenous people's culture. When colonizers are thinking that they're helping the development, indigenous people already know about the land more than the colonizer at least. And so when I compare the development, the degree of development between indigenous people and the colonizer in terms of that place, specific place where indigenous people are originated from. If I compare, the indigenous people are probably already developed more than the colonizers. So what colonizers did was not to help the development in that specific place where indigenous people have been living, but they are just bringing the different types of development into the original development that are already developed. And what I mean by development is that there are the levels of development. For example, if you talk about industry, from industry not that big, let's try not be that big scale. From the writing, we had a printing system like stamp, and then we had like a spray printer that spray the ink particles on the piece of paper. So in terms of the specific goal, if you have a goal which is to make a copy of something, we have been developing. I think that we can say that the level has been going up, but the indigenous people and the colonizers' development are different. So it's even nonsense to compare and try to put those two in a hierarchy. So I think indigenous people and colonizers are both developed, and in their own development, I don't know how much they are developed, but it doesn't matter because their developments are not the same anyway. It is unique to each of them, so it cannot be compared. Their levels cannot be compared with, it's not relevant to the other level, not relevant to the levels that is in other kind of development. It's like comparing, try to compare like Japanese and American and Australian, Indian, Russian, Chinese, Korean, who are more developed? We don't know. We just live in different countries. Do we have like levels of human? If you are maybe the Goku in Dragon Ball, you will have the level by having like yellow hair growing. That is the development, but it's an individual level, and that is because it's individual level. The subject doesn't change. We can talk about the development, but as I said, we are just different. So the objective, what is the objective for my research? To taking the unit of Aboriginal studies. I think that kind of perspective on the development is interesting. And by studying Aborigines people, indigenous people, I think I can understand how they are developed. And if I understand that in my research, which is to study politics using biology, how knowing about indigenous people's development is profitable, kind of, or how is that contributing to my research? Development of indigenous people. Maybe I can compare the development of indigenous people and development of Western culture. And talking of the Western culture, I think I have more knowledge, understanding about them more than the indigenous people's development. So if I can know the indigenous people development, I can compare. I'm not comparing the levels of the development. I'm comparing how they're different and why they became so different. And this is what I've just said is kind of connected to the talk I had last night or very early this morning in midnight on Twitter. So on the Twitter there is a function. There's a function to have a live kind of streaming with just voice, like a YouTube live streaming without the video. Yeah, there I talked to someone who are writing blog about evolutionary psychology, and I asked him, I don't know, the person, in what case of psychology do you think, or just objectively, in what case evolutionary perspective is suitable when you talk about psychology? And the person said, if you try to look into the proximity of the system, for example, when I see my smartphone, the blue light hit my eyes and it gets into my brain and it stimulate the neurons and neurotransmitters getting out. And if I'm watching very fun, like a comedy on YouTube, I will get like more serotonin or something like the specific neurotransmitter, and then I feel like the pleasure. That is very proximity of the system. That is really about the proximity, because that is just happening between my phone, eyes, brain. And it is possible to do that in psychology, like showing the video of like foods and how they react, how their brain, how participants in the experiment react to the food. Maybe do they have more saliva, so they want to eat more. That's proximity. So the evolutionary perspective is a more dynamic in terms of time, in dynamic scale. And there was an example, the person who answered to my question said, so evolutionary psychology is interested in, we are not interested in whether people would like to eat banana and other people don't like to eat banana. It's not that. But we are kind of interested in why people do not feel like eating plastic bottle. Yeah, something like that. Or also, to be more realistic, why lions like animals, why lions eat meat, raw meat, while humans do eat meat but in different way. But that is like, you cannot just look at the mechanism of the body. So the mechanism of body, who has different diet, is possibly can be, I think, studied. But if you want to know how and why it happened, why the body became like that, you need to go back to like the ancestors, go back in time. So that is when evolutionary perspective is used in the psychology. I think, even though I can say the proximity and long-term dynamic can be dealt with different method in psychology, even if I said that, I think my research interest is in both. I'm interested in both the dynamic timescale change happened in human politics, and also and by looking at it from the biological evolutionary stuff. And on the other hand, when I talk about the proximity, I'm interested in how people can improve the kind of well-being of the general public using politics. So I want to know the mechanism of how people doing politics in a very broad sense try to make the society good, and what's happening, what kind of biological phenomena are happening while they're doing and why they're not doing. Oh, that sounds clear, but I'm sure I can make the topic more solid. So anyways, that was the research. That was about the, what was I talking about? So I'm talking about the importance of objective and how indigenous people study are related to my interest. I think so. By studying indigenous people, I said that I can compare the difference in the development between Western culture and our indigenous people. And when I can compare, I can use the evolutionary perspective to explain how they are different, why they became that different. And okay, just explaining something can satisfy just curiosity, like hungry curiosity. But it's not just that. I wanted to do something good for the society. So how can I transform that research into a more practical one? That's going to be another topic to discuss. But for now, the important thing, the point of taking this video was to get ready, meaning that having the objective to do my assignments and keep them in my mind while I'm reading, watching, listening, or whatever information I will inhale. That is the important thing. So getting sleepier while talking. Oh. So now, keep that in my mind. I'm gonna start the task. Yep. Oh, sleepy. Well, I'm awake now.